Do evolutionary family trees actually show evolution? Welcome to Critical Thinking Scan, where we look at how you can think about any faith-challenging message and arrive at a biblical, logical conclusion yourself. I'm Patricia Engler, and today let's start looking at evolutionary family trees, also called phylogenies, which are hypotheses about which organisms descended from which ancestors. For instance, here's a phylogeny of some vertebrates. The points marked with numbers are called nodes, and each node represents the common ancestor of the organisms branching from it. So the nodes near the base of the tree supposedly represent the oldest ancestors, and animals which share the most recent common ancestors are supposed to be the most closely related based on their shared similarities. Remember, similarities, which are thought to be inherited from the same ancestor, are called homologies. And homologies typically form a nested pattern on family trees. For instance, dogs and horses supposedly inherited the defining features of mammals from common ancestor number 7, while dogs, horses, and frogs inherited the 4 limbs characteristics of tetrapods from ancestor number 2. And such nested hierarchies are supposed to be great evidence for evolution. As my first-year biology textbook said, this nested pattern is exactly what we would expect to result from descent with modification from a common ancestor. And my third-year evolution textbook concurred, a historical process of branching and divergence will yield objects that can be hierarchically ordered, but few other processes will do so. Well, is that true? Let's think about it using critical thinking check number 6, check the interpretations. When we look at an evolutionary family tree, what facts from observational science are we seeing in the present? The facts are the living things or the fossils themselves, and the similarities or differences that we can see between them. Everything else about the tree, including how the organisms are related and the nodes representing their presumed ancestors, is interpretation from historical science, often based on evolutionary assumptions. Even my evolution professor reminded us that phylogenies are hypotheses, not definite facts, because, like we'll see in the next video, they change depending what data and what assumptions they're based on. And different sets of similarities often tell different evolutionary stories. Furthermore, many similarities in unrelated organisms, like similar eyes in squids and humans, could be due to shared ancestry anyway. So evolutionists have to say that such similarities resulted from natural selection favoring the same traits in unrelated organisms through a process called convergent evolution. So that's the evolutionary interpretation. What's an alternative biblical explanation for the nested categories, like mammals or tetrapods or vertebrates, that result when we classify living things based on their similarities? Well, as a helpful linked article by Harry Sanders points out, nested hierarchies are in a zone of overlap between creation and evolution. Both creationists and evolutionists predict that there will be a certain level of continuity of life. For example, creationists predict that living things will reproduce according to their kinds, which God designed with a great deal of created genetic diversity. Processes like natural selection can act on that diversity or variation, resulting in different species occupying different environments. So wolves and hyenas, for example, have adapted to different environments, but are both members of the dog kind. We could use dog species similarities to produce a phylogeny of the dog kind which would be consistent with Scripture. But what about similarities used to classify different kinds of animals, like dogs and cats, into categories like mammals or tetrapods? Like we discussed in episode 45, we can biblically interpret such similarities to reflect how different living things share the same designer who used certain useful design plans, like the presence of 4 limbs, in multiple applications to serve similar functions under similar constraints. In fact, like Harry Sanders points out, design often does produce nested hierarchies, even in human-made creations. For example, trucks are more similar to each other than to vans because they were designed for similar purposes, and both trucks and vans are more similar to each other than to two-wheeled vehicles. In the same way, life's nested hierarchies do not require an evolutionary explanation, and a biblical interpretation often explains the same observations even better. We'll look closer at the assumptions behind phylogenies next time. Meanwhile, for more on how to think critically about any faith-challenging message, you can access my other CT Scan episodes packed with tactics, tips, and tools that helped me as a Christian student at secular university. Thank you for watching. Hey, it's Patricia. Just wanted to let you know that if you like these videos, a free, easy way to help Answers in Genesis Canada produce more content and equip more people to defend their faith is to hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, click the bell, and of course share these resources. I know you might hear that kind of thing a lot, but the reason these actions are so important is they inform social media algorithms to help these videos reach more people who can benefit from them. And that's especially helpful because advertising is super expensive. But this way, even media platforms which are often unfriendly towards biblical content become tools to promote gospel outreach for free. And if you're on board to share this message of biblical authority and want to give, you can also make a one-time donation or become a monthly supporter by clicking the link below. Thank you so much.